So let me ask you this. We've covered kind of a lot of ground. If you could give any one piece of advice to a business person, a startup owner, even an established business person, what would it be, Kirk?
Well, I think that the main thing is to stay focused on your business.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What tends to happen with entrepreneurs, but that I see, my experience, is they have an idea, they start a business, and they start to grow it. And then they get some ideas of, well, what else can we do? Right. And we've had those conversations internally at our company too. Like, okay, we have this company, we have all these restaurants. Okay, well, why don't we set up the technology piece so that we're not paying another company for their technology? And I always step back and I say, what is our main focus? What do we do? What do we make money at? And until we get to the point where there's no other opportunity to continue to grow that piece of it, why would we want to take ourselves off on a different tangent? Because once you do that, now you took yourself away. It doesn't mean that you can't morph and your company might morph into something else. You might find another opportunity, by doing something like that. You might, an offshoot might end up being the main part of the business, but focus on one of them. Figure out which one is the one that you want. You can't be everything to everybody, and no way you're going to be able to do everything perfect as best you can unless you focus on that. And I learned that being focused and say, we have something that we know we can get out there. We have something that we know that we have to convince certain restaurant owners, and some owners get it right away. But this is what we do, and we do it best. And let's just focus on that. And that has been our focus for 3.5 years now. And it's the best thing we ever did was stay focused. Had we gone off into other things, it would have pulled us away from that focus. And that's something that all entrepreneurs go through. I think they all think like, oh, well, what if we worked with these guys? Well, yeah, but what are you best at? Stick with what your core competencies are and be the best at it.
Yeah, I love that. And I talk with entrepreneurs all the time about creating a support network around them that can help them with the things that either they're not ready to bring on board or it'll never be big enough that it's worth it. And I completely agree, because you use technology as an example. So let's say that you say, oh, we use cloud servers a lot. It's very expensive. We could bite the bullet, bring in servers and run this ourselves. But now you've got to develop an internal IT staff.
Yep.
And is that really what you're best served doing? The answer may be yes, but usually it's no. And I agree, the focus is key, because if you focus on what you do better than anybody else, then you are better than anybody else at that.
Right. So this kind of goes back. Here's something interesting. So I had some conversations with one of our competitors, and we were talking, a couple of guys, we were talking about, like, we compete with each other from a standpoint of brands online and trying to get consumers to order those. But we don't compete from a standpoint of the type of restaurants we go after. So they primarily focus on enterprise type of businesses. So the Chili's and the IHOPs and stuff like that. So they had to create a complete internal technology team in order to be able to make sure that everything integrated with those companies' POS systems, right? Because those companies were big. If they brought on a brand, they put it into 500 stores. So it had to work differently. Where for us, we deal with independent restaurants. So if we had to tie into every POS system, holy cow, what it would cost. So we decided to go a different route. We went with our own technology, which is all tablet and printer technology, which is very simple. But the independent owner can do that. He doesn't need it to run through his POS system. Right. And he'd prefer it not to, because then it confuses his business with this other business. So we found that works better for us. But if we outsource, we contract and outsource that piece of the technology. But like you said, if I brought that in-house, now what do I do when, something changes at DoorDash? My IT team's got to do all that, where I pay for that separately now. That company keeps it all up to date for me. Right. And, so there's a give and take, there's a pro and con to it. Right. What if the company doesn't do a good job? Yes, it could hurt us. Right. But we vet who we have, and we make sure, and we keep up with it, and we make sure what's happening, and we're involved at a different level with them than we would be, bringing it in internally. So but the cost, you figure out what the cost would be, and then the responsibility on top of it. When you can outsource, I find that the outsourcing tends to be better.
100%, because to your point earlier, that company is doing what they do best and what they're
Yes.
focused on, which in your example, building a piece of software or whatever, that they're not trying to do 17 different things. No, I love that.